Orion is a prominent constellation located on the celestial equator and visible throughout the world. It is one of the most conspicuous and recognizable constellations in the night sky. It was named after Orion, a hunter in Greek mythology. Its brightest stars are Rigel and Betelgeuse, a blue, white and a red supergiant, respectively. History and mythology. The earliest depiction that has been linked to the constellation of Orion is a prehistoric mammoth ivory carving found in a cave in the Acht Valley, in West Germany in 1979. Archaeologists have estimated it to have been fashioned approximately 32,000 to 38,000 years ago. The distinctive pattern of Orion has been recognized in numerous cultures around the world, and many myths have been associated with it. It has also been used as a symbol in the modern world. Ancient Near East. The Babylonian star catalogues of the Late Bronze Age name Orion Mulsipa, and now, the heavenly shepherd, or true shepherd of Anu, Anu being the chief god of the heavenly realms. The Babylonian constellation was sacred to Papshakal and Ninshaba, both minor gods fulfilling the role of messenger to the gods. Papshakal was closely associated with the figure of a walking bird on Babylonian boundary stones, and on the star map the figure of the rooster was located below and behind the figure of the true shepherd. Both constellations represent the herald of the gods, in his bird and human forms respectively. In ancient Egypt, the stars of Orion were regarded as a god, called Sah, because Orion rises before Sirius, the star whose heliacal rising was the basis for the solar Egyptian calendar. Sah was closely linked with Sopden, the goddess who personified Sirius. The god Sopdu was said to be the son of Sah and Sopden. Sah was syncretized with Osiris, while Sopdet was syncretized with Osiris's mythological wife Isis. In the pyramid texts, from the 24th and 23rd centuries BC, Sah was one of many gods whose form the dead pharaoh was said to take in the afterlife. The Armenians identified the legendary patriarch and founder Haik with Orion. Haik is also the name of the Orion constellation in the Armenian translation of the Bible. The Bible mentions Orion 3 times, naming it Kesel, though this name perhaps is etymologically connected with Kislev, the name for the 9th month of the Hebrew calendar, which, in turn, may derive from the Hebrew root Ksel, as in the words Kesel, Kisla, i.e. hope for winter rains. Job chapter 9 verse 9, Job chapter 38 verse 31, and Amos chapter 5 verse 8. In ancient Aram, the constellation was known as Nephila. The Nephilim may have been Orion's descendants. Greco-Roman Antiquity. Orion's current name derives from Greek mythology, in which Orion was a gigantic, supernaturally strong hunter of ancient times born to Euryale, a Gorgon, and Poseidon, god of the sea in the Greco-Roman tradition. One myth recounts Skythe's rage at Orion, who dared to say that he would kill every animal on the planet. The angry goddess tried to dispatch Orion with a scorpion. This is given as the reason that the constellations of Scorpius and Orion are never in the sky at the same time. However, Ophiuchus, the serpent-bearer, revived Orion with an antidote. This is said to be the reason that the constellation of Ophiuchus stands midway between the scorpion and the hunter in the sky. The constellation is mentioned in Horace's Odes, Homer's Odyssey and Iliad, and Virgil's Aeneid. Middle East. In medieval Muslim astronomy, Orion was known as Al-Jabbar, the giant. Orion's sixth brightest star, Scythe, is named from the Arabic Saif al-Jabbar, meaning sword of the giant. Asian antiquity. In China, Orion was one of the 28 lunar mansions Xiu. It is known as Shen, literally meaning 3, for the stars of Orion's belt. The Chinese character originally meant the constellation Orion. Its Shang dynasty version, over 3 millennia old, contains at the top a representation of the 3 stars of Orion's belt atop a man's head. The Rig Veda refers to the Orion constellation as Emriga. It is said that 2 bright stars in the front and 2 bright stars in the rear of the hunting dogs. The one comparatively less bright star in the middle and ahead of 2 front dogs is the hunter, and 3 aligned bright stars are in the middle of all 4 hunting dogs is the deer, and 3 little aligned but less brighter stars is the baby deer. The Emriga means deer, locally known as Hanu in folk parlance. There are many folk songs narrating the Hanu. The Malay called Orion belt Bintang Tiga Beradik. European folklore. In Old Hungarian tradition, Orion is known as Archer or Reaper. In recently rediscovered myths he is called Nimrod, the greatest hunter, father of the twins Hana and Meteor. The Pi and O stars form together the reflex bow of the lifted scythe. In other Hungarian traditions, Orion's belt is known as Judge's Stick. In Scandinavian tradition, Orion's belt was known as Frigg's distaff or Freyja's distaff. The Finns call the Orion's belt and the stars below it as Vanamois and Vaikartek. Another name for the asterism of Alnilam, Alnatak and Mantaka is Vanamois and Vyo, and the stars hanging for the belt as Kalevan Mieka. In Siberia, the Chukchi people see Orion as a hunter. An arrow he has shot is represented by Aldebaran, with the same figure as other Western depictions. Americas. The Seri people of northwestern Mexico call the 3 stars in the belt of Orion Hapj, which consists of 3 stars, Hap, Harmonia, and Mojet. Hap is in the middle and has been shot by the hunter. Its blood has dripped onto Tiburon Island. The same 3 stars are known in Spain and most of Latin America as Las Tres Marias. In Puerto Rico, the 3 stars are known as the Los Tres Reyes Magos. The Ojibwe Native Americans call this constellation Kabibonakan, the winter maker, as its presence in the night sky heralds winter. To the Lakota Native Americans, Talyamnekanku is the spine of a bison, the great rectangle of Orion of the bison's ribs. The Pleiades star cluster in nearby Taurus is the bison's head, and Sirius in Canis Major, known as Talyamacint, is its tail. Contemporary symbolism. The imagery of the belt and sword has found its way into popular Western culture, for example in the form of the shoulder insignia of the 27th Infantry Division of the United States Army during both World Wars, probably owing to a pun on the name of the division's first commander, Major General John F. Orion. The defunct film distribution company Orion Pictures used the constellation as its logo. In fiction and J.R. Tolkien's mythology surrounding Middle-earth, Orion is known as Menelvigor, which is Sindarin for the swordsman in the sky. In the movie Blade Runner, the dying replicant Roy Batty introspectively delivers his tears in rain soliloquy. "I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Time to die." In the sci-fi comedy Men in Black, the last words of a dying alien disguised as a human were, "To prevent war, the galaxy is on Orion's belt." It was later revealed that Orion's belt referred to the collar of a cat named Orion. In the sci-fi television series Haven, the Orionid meteor shower is known as the Hunter meteor shower. It comes to Haven once every 27 years when the barn of space between 2 worlds comes to take the mysterious woman away. When the barn leaves, the hunter passes safely overhead and the troubles end, making the town of Haven a haven for the troubled again. Depictions in artistic renderings. The surrounding constellations are sometimes related to Orion. He is depicted standing next to the river Eridanus with his two hunting dogs Canis Major and Canis Minor. Fighting Taurus, he is sometimes depicted hunting Lepus the hare. He also sometimes is depicted to have a lion's hide in his hand. There are alternative ways to visualize Orion. For the southern hemisphere, Orion is oriented south upward, and the belt and sword are sometimes called the saucepan pot in Australia and New Zealand. Orion's belt is called Drie Konings of the Drie Susters by Afrikaans speakers in South Africa and are referred to as Les Twawa in Dodes. Lettre de Montmoulin. The appellation Drie Koningen is also often found in 17th and 18th century Dutch star charts and seamen's guides. The same three stars are known in Spain, Latin America, and the Philippines as Las Tres Marias and as Los Tres Reyes Magos in Puerto Rico. Even traditional depictions of Orion have varied greatly. Cicero drew Orion in a similar fashion to the modern depiction. The hunter held an unidentified animal skin aloft in his right hand. His hand was represented by Omicron to Orionis and the skin was represented by the 5 stars designated Pi Orionis. Kappa and Beta Orionis represented his left and right knees, while Eta and Lambda Leporus were his left and right feet, respectively. As in the modern depiction, Delta, Epsilon, and Zeta represented his belt. His left shoulder was represented by Alpha Orionis, and Mu Orionis made up his left arm. Lambda Orionis was his head and Gamma, his right shoulder. The depiction of Hyginus was similar to that of Cicero, though the two differed in a few important areas. Cicero's animal skin became Hyginus's shield, and instead of an arm marked out by Mu Orionis, he holds a club. His right leg is represented by Theta Orionis and his left leg is represented by Lambda, Mu, and Epsilon Leporus. Further Western European and Arabic depictions have followed these two models. Characteristics. Orion is bordered by Taurus to the northwest, Eridanus to the southwest, Lepus to the south, Monoceros to the east, and Gemini to the northeast. Covering 594 square degrees, Orion ranks 26th of the 88 constellations in size. The constellation boundaries, as set by Eugene Delporte in 1930, are defined by a polygon of 26 sides. In the equatorial coordinate system, the right ascension coordinates of these borders lie between 04H 43.3 meters and 06H 25.5 meters, while the declination coordinates are between 22.87 degrees and minus 10.97 degrees. The constellation's three-letter abbreviation, as adopted by the International Astronomical Union in 1922, Ori. Orion is most visible in the evening sky from January to March, winter in the northern hemisphere, and summer in the southern hemisphere. In the tropics, the constellation transits at the zenith. In the period May to July, Orion is in the daytime sky and thus not visible at most latitudes. However, for much of Antarctica in the southern hemisphere's winter months, the sun is below the horizon even at midday. Stars are then visible at twilight for a few hours around local noon, low in the north. At the same time of day at the South Pole itself, Rigel is only 8 degrees above the horizon, and a belt sweeps just along it. In the southern hemisphere's summer months, when Orion is normally visible in the night sky, the constellation is actually not visible in Antarctica because the sun does not set at that time of year south of the Antarctic Circle. In countries close to the equator, Orion appears overhead in December around midnight and in the February evening sky. Navigational aid. Orion is very useful as an aid to locating other stars. By extending the line of the belt southeastward, Sirius can be found northwestward. Aldebaran, aligned eastward across the two shoulders, indicates the direction of Procyon. A line from Rigel through Betelgeuse points to Castor and Pollux. Additionally, Rigel is part of the winter circle, Sirius and Procyon, which may be located from Orion by following imaginary lines, also are points in both the winter triangle and the circle. Major features. Orion's 7 brightest stars form a distinctive hourglass-shaped asterism, or pattern, in the night sky. 4 stars, Rigel, Betelgeuse, Bellatrix and Scythe, form a large, roughly rectangular shape, in the center of which lie the 3 stars of Orion's belt, Alnitak, Alnilam and Mintaka. Coincidentally, these 7 stars are among the most distant that can easily be seen with the naked eye. Descending from the belt is a smaller line of 3 stars, known as the Hunter's Sword. Many of the stars are luminous hot blue supergiants, with the stars of the belt and sword forming the Orion-OB1 association. Standing out by its red hue, Betelgeuse may nevertheless be a runaway member of the same group. Stars Betelgeuse, alternatively by its Bayer designation Alpha Orionis, is a massive M-type red supergiant star nearing the end of its life. When it explodes, it will even be visible during the day. It is the second brightest star in Orion, and is a semi-regular variable star. It serves as the right shoulder of the Hunter it represents, and is the 8th brightest star in the night sky. Rigel, which is also known as Beta Orionis, is a B-type blue supergiant that is the 6th brightest star in the night sky. Similar to Betelgeuse, Rigel is fusing heavy elements in its core and will pass its supergiant stage soon, either collapsing in the case of a supernova or shedding its outer layers and turning into a white dwarf. It serves as the left foot of Orion, the Hunter. Bellatrix was designated Gamma Orionis by Johann Bayer, but is known colloquially as the Amazon star. It is the 27th brightest star in the night sky. Bellatrix is considered a B-type blue giant, though it is too small to explode in a supernova. Bellatrix's luminosity is derived from its high temperature rather than its radius, a factor that defines Betelgeuse. Bellatrix serves as Orion's left shoulder. Mintaka garnered the name Delta Orionis from Bayer, even though it is the faintest of the 3 stars in Orion's belt. Its name means the belt. It is a multiple star system, composed of a large B-type blue giant and a more massive O-type white star. The Mintaka system constitutes an eclipsing binary variable star, where the eclipse of one star over the other creates a dip in brightness. Mintaka is the westernmost of the 3 stars of Orion's belt, as well as the northernmost. Alnilam is designated Epsilon Orionis, a consequence of Bayer's wish to name the 3 stars in Orion's belt in alphabetical order. Also called Al-Nathan, Alnilam is named for the Arabic phrase meaning string of pearls. Alnilam is a B-type blue supergiant, despite being nearly twice as far from the Sun as Mintaka and Alnitak, the other 2 belt stars. Its luminosity makes it nearly equal in magnitude. Alnilam is losing mass quickly, a consequence of its size. It is approximately 4 million years old. Alnitak, meaning the girdle, was designated Zeta Orionis by Bayer, and is the easternmost star in Orion's belt. It is a triple star some 800 light-years distant, with the primary star being a hot blue supergiant and the brightest Class O star in the night sky. Scythe was designated Kappa Orionis by Bayer, and serves as Orion's right foot. It is of a similar distance and size to Rigel, but appears much fainter, as its hot surface temperature causes it to emit most of its light in the ultraviolet region of the spectrum. Of the lesser stars, Mysa forms Orion's head, whilst Tatsu forms the tip of Orion's sword. Iota Orionis is also called Ner al-Saif, Arabic for the brightest in the sword. Belt Orion's belt, the belt of Orion, is an asterism within the constellation. It consists of the three bright stars Eta, Epsilon, and Delta. Alnitak is around 800 light-years away from Earth and is 100,000 times more luminous than the Sun. Much of its radiation is in the ultraviolet range, which the human eye cannot see. Alnilam is approximately 1,340 light-years away from Earth, shines with magnitude 1.70, and with ultraviolet light is 375,000 times more luminous than the Sun. Mintaka is 915 light-years away and shines with magnitude 2.21. It is 90,000 times more luminous than the Sun and is a double star. The two orbit each other every 5.73 days. Looking for Orion's belt in the night sky is the easiest way to locate the constellation. In the northern hemisphere, Orion's belt is best visible in the night sky during the month of January around 9 p.m., when it is approximately around the local meridian. Just southwest of Alnitak lies Sigma Orionis, a multiple star system composed of 5 stars that have a combined apparent magnitude of 3.7 and lying 1,150 light-years distant. Southwest of Mintaka lies the quadruple star Eta Orionis. Head 3 stars compose a small triangle that marks the head. The apex is marked by Mysa, a hot blue giant of spectral type 083 and apparent magnitude 3.54, which lies some 1,100 light-years distant. Phi 1 and Phi 2 Orionis make up the base. Also nearby is the very young star Fu Orionis. North Arrow. Together the Alnitak, Alnilam, and Amp Mintaka, the M42, M43, at the lower end formed the tail of an arrow, while Alnilam formed the head of the arrow. All together form an arrow that always points north. Therefore, it is used as navigational guide at night, especially in the Sahara Desert where there are not many natural signs. Club stretching north from Betelgeuse are the stars that make up Orion's club. Mu Orionis marks the elbow, Nu and Xi mark the handle of the club, and Chi 1 and Chi 2 mark the end of the club. Just east of Chi 1 is the Myra-type variable red giant U Orionis. Shield west from Bellatrix lie 6 stars, all designated Pi Orionis, which make up Orion's shield. Meteor showers. Around the 20th of October each year, the Orionid meteor shower reaches its peak. Coming from the border with the constellation Gemini, as many as 20 meteors per hour can be seen. The shower's parent body is Halley's Comet. Deep sky objects hanging from Orion's belt is his sword, consisting of the multiple stars Theta 1 and Theta 2 Orionis, called the trapezium, and the Orion Nebula. This is a spectacular object that can be clearly identified with the naked eye as something other than a star. Using binoculars, its clouds of nascent stars, luminous gas, and dust can be observed. The trapezium cluster has many newborn stars, including several brown dwarfs, all of which are at an approximate distance of 1,500 light-years. Named for the 4 bright stars that form a trapezoid, it is largely illuminated by the brightest stars, which are only a few 100,000 years old. Observations by the Chandra X-ray Observatory show both the extreme temperatures of the main stars, up to 60,000 Kelvin, and the star-forming regions, still extant in the surrounding nebula. M78 is a nebula in Orion, with an overall magnitude of 8.0. It is significantly dimmer than the Great Orion Nebula that lies to its south. However, it is at approximately the same distance, at 1,600 light-years from Earth. It can easily be mistaken for a comet in the eyepiece of a telescope. M78 is associated with the variable star V351 Orionis, whose magnitude changes are visible in very short periods of time. Another fairly bright nebula in Orion is NGC 1999, also close to the Great Orion Nebula. It has an integrated magnitude of 10.5 and is 1500 light-years from Earth. The variable star V380 Orionis is embedded in NGC 1999. Another famous nebula is IC 434, the Horsehead Nebula, near Zeta Orionis. It contains a dark dust cloud whose shape gives the nebula its name. NGC 2174 is an emission nebula located 6,400 light-years from Earth. Besides these nebulae, surveying Orion with a small telescope will reveal a wealth of interesting deep sky objects, including M43, M78, as well as multiple stars including Iota Orionis and Sigma Orionis. A larger telescope may reveal objects such as Barnard's Loop and the Flame Nebula, as well as fainter and tighter multiple stars and nebulae. All of these nebulae are part of the larger Orion molecular cloud complex, which is located approximately 1,500 light-years away and is hundreds of light-years across. It is one of the most intense regions of stellar formation visible within our galaxy. Future Orion is located on the celestial equator, but it will not always be so located due to the effects of precession of the Earth's axis. Orion lies well south of the ecliptic, and it only happens to lie on the celestial equator because the point on the ecliptic that corresponds to the June solstice is close to the border of Gemini and Taurus, to the north of Orion. Precession will eventually carry Orion further south, and by AD 14,000 Orion will be far enough south that it will become invisible from the latitude of Great Britain. Further in the future, Orion's stars will gradually move away from the constellation due to proper motion. However, Orion's brightest stars all lie at a large distance from the Earth on an astronomical scale, much farther away than Sirius. For example, Orion will still be recognizable long after most of the other constellations, composed of relatively nearby stars, have distorted into new configurations, with the exception of a few of its stars eventually exploding as supernovae, for example Betelgeuse, which is predicted to explode sometime in the next million years.